Hi, and welcome to Two CPAs and the Mic, the podcast where we talk tax, finance, and all things related to business. Whether you're a business owner, working professional, or someone who wants to start a career in accounting, this is the podcast for you. Hosted by CCK Strategies partners Jeff Frable and Sarah Mays, we dive into relevant business and tax matters with working professionals to make these topics less intimidating, relatable, and dare we say fun? Let's get down to business.
Welcome to this week's episode of Two CPAs and the Mic. We are so glad you're joining us this week. We are here to cover relevant business and tax topics, but do it in a way where we are applying straight talk with practical information and not all the jargon and stuffiness that normally is associated with our profession. Mays, what's up?
What's up, Frable? How's it going?
It's going good. So introductions, in case someone's new. I'm Jeff Frable, partner with CCK Strategies. My wonderful and incredible co-host, Sarah Mays.
I'm Sarah Mays, and I'm also a partner here at CCK Strategies.
That's right. And we also have KP's in the house. KP, our in-house producer extraordinaire.
Amazing.
Yeah. She's back with us.
Yes.
She's been gone.
I know she's been gone.
She's been
for
gone
two
two episodes, which was really only 3 days. We had that whole conversation last time. So welcome back, KP.
Thank you.
So when we talk about friendly banter, I think you are the key person because you've had some stuff going on. You've been out, you've been traveling. What's going on?
We had a quick graduation at college. It was a special graduation because one of our daughters is a senior, and she and my youngest daughter, who's a freshman, both play lacrosse at their college. They made it to the NCAA tournament. That conflicted with the big commencement, so the college was gracious enough to have a special graduation. So we booked it to Pennsylvania, had this amazing experience, moved the girls out. That was a whole nother podcast. And then booked it up to upstate New York to watch the tournament and the game. They lost, but it was still awesome.
I thought she was going to.
We went back to Pennsylvania and came home. And I got to tell you, I feel like I can do anything.
That's when,
Yes.
Do you drive straight through? Because it's about a
Depends on when we leave.
20-hour drive?
14 hours.
14? Okay, 14 is not.
Depends on when we leave.
Maybe 20 for you.
Yeah, well.
We stop in Effingham.
Effingham,
Indiana.
I
Is it
stopped in.
Illinois?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was
It
Indiana.
is.
No,
Okay.
I stopped
just remember
there
the Effingham.
too. I stopped at Effingham too. It also has the big cross.
Yes, it
The-
does.
the
It
big-
does.
Cross in Effingham. So congratulations on all that going on.
you.
Sarah, what's going on with you this summer? Anything big, special? And all your family's back in town
All my
now,
family's
so-
back in town. Yeah. I'm exhausted. It's a good exhaustion, but I am
Okay.
exhausted because having a newborn is a lot of work.
When you're 55 years old?
Right. No.
Oh, no.
We're not, remember,
That's
we're
us,
not
Jeff.
50 yet.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm not 50 yet, but no, it is. It's a good exhaustion, but it's exhausting helping your daughter and her son. I mean, her son, but her husband.
Yeah.
And Wyatt's home.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
he finally
he
made
made
it
it
with the
home,
U-Haul,
yes.
with the U-Haul truck.
Well, no, I mean, he is officially out of the army. He's home.
Very cool.
He's good. Yeah, it's all good.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, we are going to Richmond this weekend to visit the grandchild. We're going back to Virginia Beach for a week in July.
I'm
Yeah, I know,
sorry.
that's where the family. We're not going to Disney this year. And big news is that there's only 2 days of school left. Now, by the time this airs, it'll be a week or
It'll be
two.
over.
But when you have a wife that's an educator, that's a big day.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
She's very excited. So she's going to end on Friday. And then the next day we're leaving to go see the kiddo with the grandkids. So
Cool. That's going to be a
So
fun
cool.
road trip.
we have not been in the pool yet.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
There's
I mean,
something wrong with that.
I know it's been kind of icky,
Yeah.
but we are ready.
Yeah.
We are ready for summer. I
Bring
don't
it
know about
on.
you.
Baby.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's
I'm
bring it
ready
on.
to.
Let's talk about this week's episode. We have a special guest. We're going to be talking about transitional leadership between generations. So if you are a entrepreneurial business owner, you definitely want to stay on and listen to this topic because at some point in time, you're probably going to be experiencing some type of transition like this. And if you're not an owner, but you're in the business world, I think you'll find this very interesting because you may see some of the things that go on in the office place. Everyone thinks that generational leadership changes are very easy and they're very structured and they're very just
And
it always
emotion.
yeah
there's no
nothing really goes on, but
right.
there's a lot behind the scenes. So we have an expert on today. Sarah, why don't you do the intro?
Yes. We have Scott Dannemiller. Welcome, Scott.
Hello. Good to be with you today.
Yes. Well, okay. Well, I'm going to give a little bio and brag on you a little bit. Okay.
Oh, all right.
So,
Feel free. I'll take it. I don't get this at home. I didn't get this morning at breakfast.
All right. Yeah. Okay. We've served our purpose, guys.
Yeah, here we go. So he is the founder and president of LifeWorks Associates, and it's a training and development firm in Franklin, Tennessee. And he brings over 25 years of experience in leadership and organizational development. He's actually done leadership coaching for myself and for a couple of other partners here in the firm. And he's done amazing work just in CCK ourselves with management and consulting and all those things. And then he's also co-authored a book with his wife, Gabby. It's called The Year Without a Purchase, which is, he's explained a little bit of that to me, but they went a whole year without buying a single thing. And they were on the Today Show and they were doing all kinds of cool stuff. See, I remember.
It has no relation at all to the work that I do, but it was a fun experiment. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about that before we get into the meat. So tell us about it, a little bit about it, Scott.
Well,
what was it?
Just like everybody, this part's not like everybody. About 10 years into our corporate careers, you start asking, where's the meaning in all this? And I came home and asked that question, and my wife asked the same question. And I said, we should just be missionaries or something. She said, okay. And she was a project manager at the time. So she had a PERT chart and a Gantt chart. And we went and spent a year living in Guatemala with the Mayan family and doing volunteer service. And it was a great experience. And we learned about simplicity. Fast forward 10 years from that, and we're looking up at the wall in our house, and there's this custom frame piece of art that has our family mission statement on it that we had paid $600 for. And we're like, wait a minute, we learned about simplicity. Why would we now have to spend $600 on a piece of art that has our mission statement on it that's all about simplicity? So we embarked on a journey. We said, we got to get back to what's important. And we spent a year not buying any stuff. That was the rule. You could buy things that you could use up in a year, fix stuff if it breaks, but no new stuff. So if I said, I need a pair of pants, my wife would say, well, are you naked from the waist down? If not, then you don't need a pair of pants. You have pants on. You don't need pants. You just want pants. So
the term need really became
need
literal.
Versus wants. And it was a journey for the whole family. Our kids were young at the time, and honestly, they didn't even notice. We didn't tell them. Now, if we went through this with teenage kids,
got different
they would know.
Talking Christy, you got kids in high school. It would be a different story, but yeah.
Well, Scott, I love what your website says when it talks about what you do. And it says you teach people how to think better, communicate more effectively, and eliminate the general jerkiness that plagues our society. Can you talk just a little bit about what that jerkiness is?
Well, I think the jerkiness often stems from most leaders that I work with. And in general, we all have an imposter syndrome. We're all asking, what if they find out I don't really know what I'm doing? Right? Now, we know we know what we're doing, but there is some stress in feeling like we have to have all the answers all the time and know exactly what's happening. And that creates internal anxiety, which oftentimes comes out as either aggressiveness, assertiveness, I'm sharp with people, or I feel like I have to be way too politically correct and use just the right words. Now, we want to be respectful to everybody, but we also want to bring our authentic selves to work. And that's what I hope we can create in cultures with organizations and in leaders that we work with. So
that's pretty cool.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So today we're supposed to be talking about, we did go off on a tangent. Yeah, we got to get back on track. No.
So,
I'm going with you, wherever you want to go.
We're going to go.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes. So we're talking today about, transitioning from, it can be just from one leader to another. For how it really resonates with us is we're transitioning from founding partners to the next generation, second generation. And how can we do that without really making, it's not ever really going to be smooth. That's a perfect world is smooth. It's not ever going to be perfect. But what is that most common silent assumption the founders and the successors make when they interact with each other?
Assumption, Scott.
Yes. And the assumption that we make is that the new leader will learn by osmosis. And it doesn't happen that just because they're sitting
Wonder
next to
Twin
me.
Powers.
Yeah. Just because they're sitting next to me and watching the way I work does not mean that they're going to pick everything up. And the learning by osmosis, we have a positive intent with it. Most leaders that I work with, we all suffer from something called the curse of knowledge, meaning I understand how to run my work so intimately that it almost feels like it'd be condescending if I were to explain the details to you. Like, doesn't everybody know this? And that curse of knowledge is what gets in the way of us not sharing some of the most basic details that are going to be most helpful to the successor coming after us.
So, Scott, does this happen mostly when you bring in a new leader from the outside versus someone that's been there for years and years and years? Or is it worse when you have someone that's been there for years because you assume they know everything?
There are different challenges. What I find most organizations, if I'm bringing in somebody from the outside, I tend to make assumptions about their capability, often for the positive, because of their previous title, their previous references. I believe that they're going to know everything about this job. And the biggest hurdle to overcome there is there are some intimate details they need to know about how to operate within that specific corporate culture. Even if they're from the same industry, it's how do we do things around here, and knowing what are the landmines I don't want to step on. Whenever it's an internal successor, we know how they operate. We've seen them operate day to day, and we know that. And so what they have to overcome often is that perception that they're either not quite ready for the role, or I remember when they were just a fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how are they going to take this leadership role as CEO or managing partner or whatever that role may be?
So, Scott, do you see there being a difference with this situation in industries, or is it industry wide? And the other part is, do you see any difference with generations? Like if you're going from boomer to X, or from X to millennial, or anything in there that is a difference?
The problem is universal. The difficulty of getting succession right, no matter the industry that you're in. From a generational perspective, I may have an unpopular opinion here on the generational perspective, but believe we can't label generations and paint them with this broad brush. In fact, there's very little research out there that, from a generational perspective, that's longitudinal, meaning, all right, I'm going to study generations over 30 years and see what the differences are. The only thing that tends to be different is the younger generations tend to rely more on technology. But from a generational perspective, what you are fighting is perhaps the lack of breadth of experience. If I've only been in the industry 10 years, the person I'm replacing has been there 30. They have 20 more years just to absorb information about the industry. What are the potential pitfalls you're going to run into, how to work with different people, and building that network.
It's so interesting, Scott, when you talk about generations. I think about some of the internal assessments we use, and we want a quick fix. And we also, I think, lean into these tools, resources, ideas as a crutch. And you can't blame everything on generational differences. You can't blame everything on a strengths difference. But what I'm hearing is, the good news is we are people. The bad news is we are people and we are complex and we're not always neat and tidy.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so where that helps us is, and getting back to your comment on let's get rid of the jerkiness, let's just be authentic, is the more transparent we can be on the front end of these transitions, with me as the new leader saying, here's what I'm all about. Here are my strengths. Here are my faults and flaws that I need your help with, right? Here's where I hire people to fill these gaps for me. And likewise from the team, here's the things that we're really good at. Here are the places where we hope you don't change things. Let's be transparent about that. Don't touch this because we've loved this for 20 years. And if you do change it, it's going to create problems. Now, does that mean we can't make a change to a particular process or no? But know that we're going to need to be very upfront about the potential pitfalls when we do that.
Yeah.
Potential pitfalls, going sideways, all of it.
Well, yeah. So what happens when it does go sideways? And especially when it's sideways in the leadership group or with that actual successor that's leaving and the new person, how do you know, or how do you keep it when it's sideways internal? Do you broadcast it to the rest of the people in the firm or the business, or do you keep it closed doors and pretend it's fine on the outside?
And pretend everything's fine. I'm a big fan of prevention in these situations. So I think one of you said earlier, it's not going to go smoothly. It never is smooth. And so if we set that expectation up front, that's helpful. And as leaders, we oftentimes want to gloss over it and say, anytime we're implementing a change, right? Well, we're excited about this. It's going to be faster, better for shareholders. It's going to be more cost effective, and we sell all the benefits. And then we say, man, there's going to be some speed bumps along the way. Well, if you're the one hitting the speed bump, it's jarring. And so I don't see it as a speed bump. It's sometimes changing the fundamental way that I do my work, that I've maybe done it for 15 or 20 years. And that is not smooth. It's not going to be. So, and we can talk about what happens when it does go sideways. But in any transition situation, what I recommend is that we acknowledge that there may be some fundamental differences, some fundamental conflicts that come up. But what we're going to do is, I don't know what the cadence is, every 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, we are planning a course correction. Let's say a little prayer that when that planned course correction comes up, we don't have to do anything because it's going great. But nobody likes uncertainty. If anybody tells you they like change, they are lying.
Yeah.
If somebody says I like change, they're lying.
No kidding.
The only reason I like change is if I'm miserable right now, right? Forget it. If I'm fairly content right now, I don't like change. So we need to understand we don't like uncertainty. Your brain is this big pattern recognition and prediction machine. And when you recognize a pattern, you make a prediction, and it comes true, your brain is all excited.
Yeah, right.
All excited. Like, and you get this, like you've all been, the analogy I use, if you've been carrying a very large box down the stairs and you can't see your feet, you think you have one step left. We've all done it, right? You think you got one step left, but you're really on ground level, and you take that one step and you're absolutely safe, right? You're not going to fall. But your brain has this momentary freak out because you were predicting something that didn't come true. And of course, then we turn around, we look and see, did anybody see that? Because I look like an idiot. Right? That's just a tiny example of that rush that we get when the unexpected happens. So if all we're doing in our organizations when we're talking about this transition is we're excited about it, it's going to go great, and here's the plan and all that. If we hit a speed bump, it's uncertain and it's going to jar people, versus if we tell people this is going to be a fantastic transition, and there's a pretty good likelihood that we may step on a process that really works in your area. There's a chance that we'll make some missteps. And when those come up, here's what we want you to do. Right. So now if the organization sees these problems, they don't say they lied to me and said, this was all going to be great, and it's not. They say, oh, they told me this was going to happen, and here's the control that I have in it. We hate uncertainty and a lack of control. We feel better whenever predictions come true, and we can do something about it.
So, Scott, if I'm hearing you correctly, so I'm a big proponent of wanting to know that I'm not crazy when I experience things. In other words, I always think the best of everybody else. And when it happens to me, not so great, it's like, well, I failed. I'm the imposter, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
So for the business owner that is listening, that's in the middle of something like this, and they hear from all their buddies at either the country club or the golf course, oh, my transition went perfect. Oh, their buddies are lying, is what you're telling me, right?
Absolutely. Well, okay. Go out to Facebook right now and see how many people are posting about the horrible argument they had with their kids this morning, or that their spouse. No, we never publicize that. You're looking at the highlight reel. Everybody's going to tell you the highlight reel. They're not going to tell you the bad thing that happens. And it's all difficult. Now, there are organizations that do this really well. And so there are fewer of those tough situations that they have to navigate through. And in that way, those are the real successes. We're still going to have to weave our way through trouble spots.
So whether you're the business owner that is going through the actual transition, or someone in the company that's seen it happen, even when you see it happen and there could be a little bit of spillover, you just need to realize that's pretty normal for these kind of situations.
Exactly. I mean, in any business owner, Jeff, you've worked with clients, I'm sure, where you have to deliver some tough news. And think about, if I walk into that room and I say, hey, I'm excited to meet with you today to talk about the results of our analysis or whatever that might be. And then you have to deliver bad news later. It's like whiplash.
Yeah.
And they're going to react perhaps defensively. But if you walk in the room and say, I'm excited to share this analysis with you today, most of the recommendations we have are things that you're likely going to agree with. There may be one or two where I'll just forecast there might be some contention. And what I hope happens when I bring those up is that we can work and problem solve to come up with a win-win. Now, what happens when those tough moments come up? Nobody's surprised. And even if somebody gets surprised, you can say, hey, remember when I said that we were going to have a tough moment in this room? This is that time. And it's almost a humorous moment. Yeah, this is the bad one I was talking about. Let's work through it. It's totally different. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So when, we're talking through all of, what assumptions and all of those things. But I think one of the things we really need to talk about is the conversations that we have to have when it comes to like vision, roles, and a timeline and all those things. So when you're talking about vision and strategy, how do you align founder vision with next generation innovation, but not making it personal, and not with the founder feeling like, oh, I've built this company for everything and now they're changing it all. How do you navigate that?
It's going to be personal. Sorry. It is.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be a founder, right? There's an organization I'm working with right now, and they did a fantastic job they are in the midst of the transition. And the CEO is beloved. She's been in this role for 10 years. The successor, somebody internally, he has been there maybe 2 or 3 years, has a completely different style. But he's already signaled that he's going to make some changes. And she is, not that she's not on board, but she probably wouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah.
And it is personal because what I've built, during COVID, there was a survey done by, I believe it was Gartner, and they asked people, how are you feeling about work? And everybody, was thinking about, maybe I want to change to find more purpose in my life. And then they asked people, where do you find your purpose in life? And 2/3 of people said, I find it in my work. Think about it. It's the question that you get asked when you go to a party. Hey, what do you do? It's the first question. We tie our purpose to our work. So it will be personal. It will be.
So many of these founders, this business, this organization is their baby. And so it is almost like a child. And you've reared it, and all of a sudden you're handing it over to someone who rears and thinks differently.
Well,
I can see the personal niche.
Yeah.
Often the name of the business has the name of the person in it. How is it not personal?
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So now here's how you frame it becomes the big challenge, right? One, usually these founders have built this successfully from, let's be honest, a pant load of hard work. They've put in 70, 80 hours a week. In some cases, they built a system. So, I mean, the example is, I said, all right, so let's say you built some system internally. We'll call it the TPX system. And it took so much work to get off the ground. But now this is how we manage all of our client interactions and everything. And if I tie my purpose in life to this creating of the system, when somebody comes in and says, you know what, successor comes in, we really need a new system because the current system isn't working. What do I hear as the founder?
Right.
Oh, boy.
I hear your system stinks. It's not, it
Your
sucks.
life's work.
Yeah.
not so
Well,
good
and if
anymore.
I've defined my purpose by my life's work, I hear
Right.
you suck.
Yes.
Let's be
Yes.
honest, because there is the widest 3-ring binder you can find on a shelf somewhere that doesn't say TPX system on it. It says Scott's system in Comic Sans font because I built it, right? Like you all have this binder. So I'm going to take it personally. I'm already feeling a lack of connection. So instead of, we oftentimes frame this thing isn't working versus I have never worked with an organization when I ask them, hey, why do you do things the way you've always done it? Never did they say, well, because it sucked the first time. So we made that our process. Nobody says that.
Right.
We do things the way we've done it because it works. At least it worked at one time. So that's the frame. It's like, hey, what you've built is amazing. And it is incredible. Here's the changes we're seeing in either the industry, the market, the environment with our workforce. Here's the changes that indicate, wait, we need to change our strategy. It's not that what you've built is bad. It's that the situation's changed and we need to build something just as good as you've built for this new situation.
Right. So, okay. So you were talking about changing things. What's that timeline look like? And I'm going to assume, I'm going to make an assumption that it's different for every organization, but there should be a transition plan in place. How do you, and because you're talking about, hey, we're going to have founder vision and changing it to the next generation, but what's that timeline look like? Because there's going to be some overlap when the founder or the
Right.
original CEO or person in leadership is there transitioning to that successor.
You have more luxury of time when it's someone internal. And hopefully, if your organization doesn't have a succession plan right now, get one. I don't care if you're a 5-person organization or 500 or 5,000. No, every manager should know, if I get an amazing offer to do something else here, who's going to backfill my role internally? So internally, we should have a successor already named, and that timeline for a really senior role, this organization I'm working with who just announced their shift, this has been a 24-month process internally, and they just announced, and there will be another 6 to 9 months of overlap. And it's been incredibly successful. With someone outside, we strongly recommend a listening tour, right? We call it in quotes. You think about, like with Microsoft, when Satya Nadella, who is a beloved leader there, came in, he said, I'm not going to do anything for a year. I'm just going to go around and not make any major changes. Of course, he worked. He said, I'm going to go talk to the major operations, learn what makes them tick, what keeps you up at night. And then, because he says, you know more about those operations than I do.
Yeah.
And 24 months is not unheard. Now, most of your founders are looking at going, I want to get out of here in 3 months.
Right.
What do I do?
Yeah.
Right. What do I do?
What do you do when, like in Succession, when they say, oh, I'm going to leave, but then they're like, psych.
I'm just going to stick around.
Yes.
I'm just going to stick around. So again, here's where the prevention comes in. The first part is, before leaving, what most leaders start with is, here's my role. And I'll make a list of, here's all the quote unquote things that I do. That's step one, but not nearly enough. And that's where most organizations leave it. Let me just leave you a to-do list and a checklist and take this over. With whatever short time you have, 2 things to add to that. One is, well, actually 3 things. One is, what skills and behaviors are required to be successful? So I get the list of duties, but skills and behaviors to be successful here. Maybe it's proactivity. I can't let things sit because here's my clients, what they expect. 2, what are the experiences my successor needs to be successful? Do they need to lead a cross-disciplinary project? Do they need to, whatever that experience is, do they need to speak at an industry conference? Do they? And then the number 3 is exposure and visibility. Who do they need to know and who do they need to be seen and elevated in front of? So on top of the duties, we got the skills and behaviors, the experiences, and that exposure. And that's going to set someone up for success, even if I have a short time horizon.
So Scott, during that time, whenever there is that overlap, is that what the exiting leader is locking arms with the new leader to help them to make those introductions along the way, helping them see those behaviors and informing them of those skills that are really important for success?
Absolutely. And we advocate for doing that even before some official announcement, if it's an internal person. That would be ideal, is that people then see the person building the skills. They see the person visibly in these roles, leading this meeting, leading this initiative. And so the handoff just becomes even easier for people to accept.
Yeah.
So when you go through this process, Scott, do you set a time period? Going back to Sarah's question about timeline, do you set a time that says, for lack of a better term, come hell or high water, we are changing on this date? Or do you wait until there's a quote unquote readiness in that person? I'm sure both ways have their pitfalls, but
right. It's readiness. Ready is the answer. Ready is the answer. Sometimes you don't have that luxury because people are moving on to a new role or they're retiring. But the idea is we can't have this person take this role unless they are ready. Now, with that said, when I talked about imposter syndrome earlier, and especially if I'm a founder and they're not going to do it the way that I did, I may never view them as ready.
That's kind of what I was getting.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting.
Right.
Yeah, I'm never going to view them as ready. And in a lot of ways, I'm probably right. There is that wisdom that comes from experience. Nobody's going to run it the way that the founder did because it literally is my baby. It's part of me. With that, then the conversation shifts a bit. So for instance, this organization that I'm working with, the new CEO has never been a CEO before. It was an internal candidate. So readiness is, I would say it's not a question. We know the person is ready to fill the role. They don't have all the skills, behaviors, experience, and visibility that the former CEO has, doesn't and would not be able to do it in 5 years. So that person, the new CEO is going to come into their role. And we know that there are likely going to be gaps. So what do we do about that? We don't have the luxury of time. So one of the questions was, well, who's going to move into his old role? Is it going to be somebody here? And so it was a very calculated decision to say, listen, if we have a new CEO who's never done it before, then the person that's taking over that person's role, whether they're the chief operations officer, the chief technology officer, whatever their role is, we probably don't want someone brand new in that role too.
Right.
It may be best to bring in somebody that they've had that title before. Maybe in a slightly different industry, slightly different market. Maybe it's a larger firm, but we can feel more confident in that. But you don't want a lot of major roles being filled by people who haven't ever done it, if you can avoid it.
So, Scott, I have this question because you've obviously been through this once or twice before. There's probably a technical part to this process, and then there's an emotional part to this process. And when you're walking with a client, do you see a switch to where you almost become a counselor versus a technical teammate?
There is a bit of counseling to it. And usually that's where the authenticity piece comes in. Whatever the transition is, the more real you can make that individual, the faster people will be able to connect with them. So even if they are making changes, people understand that there's a human behind those changes. And that's where the emotion comes in. the one organization that's doing it really, really well. I said the former CEO, beloved, was the kind of person, they're too big now, but early on, even when they had over 100 employees, would call every employee once or twice a year to have a one-on-one, just say, how's it going? Talk about building this kind of collaborative. The new CEO has let a more introverted personality, a more technical bent. And so that's not, even if you asked him to do that, he wouldn't do that. That's just not his style. So where the emotional side comes in is, I'll take it away from the emotional and more personal. One thing they did really well, and I didn't coach them on this, the CEO recognized that she was such a personal leader that we need this organization to get to know this new person, even though he's been here a while. So at the big announcement, they staged an interview where she interviewed him and they interviewed each other and just said, hey, tell me about, what did you do before this? And what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? And what are your pet peeves? And what are you in? That just fireside chat personalized it and was incredibly effective.
I find so many industries, not every industry is data driven, but I find that a lot of industries that we work with really they make their decisions based on data.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're talking about the personal side, the emotional side, I think that you mentioned it earlier, when we can inform with data, it seems to help ease some of the emotions. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to my livelihood, it doesn't really matter so much of how I feel or how I am, my emotions are. But if the data is there and it supports the need for change, my emotions can quickly get on board. And I would just wonder if that's part of the process and if people, how open they are to that.
Yeah. And usually the data will move a person or a leader when the pain of the current state is such that they're like, I got to figure out what's wrong. Why is it so painful? If it's not painful, the data doesn't speak as much. But then, like you're saying, Christy, the data can be very helpful. A lot of organizations do engagement surveys, culture surveys, and find out, what are your hot button issues? And we collect comments. There can be one or two comments that might be very emotionally laden that I'm going to put a lot of stock in. But if I quantify how many people are talking about that versus how many people are talking about a different issue, if we have 25% of our workforce talking about one issue, but it's only 2 people talking about a separate issue, now they were very emotional about it, then that intervention to try to prevent problems may look a lot different, more of a one-on-one conversation.
One of the things I was thinking about this whole time is like, we have the original leader still out working, and we've announced the successor, and they're both working together. I mean, what does the transition look like from when the new person is taking over and they are in that seat, but the old is still there? Like, what does that look like what does that look like when that transition and that new person is, I am making the decisions now. It's me, come to me. And that person, the old person, is still there. I don't like that word, older.
The former,
experience. Yes.
The experience, the wise.
The original gangster.
We've earned our wisdom.
Yeah.
What does that look like in an organization when people are just so naturally going to go to the wise?
Yeah. And that's when you asked about readiness versus is it a date? Even if the person's not ready, we need a date for the transition. And part of the prevention is, let's establish some ground rules for what happens after that date and who is responsible for what. Let's be honest, oftentimes from a founder standpoint or the former CEO standpoint, it's not inherent sabotage. It's just the curse of knowledge. We just assumed that this was going to be easy. And now the transition date came and, I disagree with them. You know what? It's still, my name is on the placard or whatever. This is my organization. So to set out, and it'll feel so deliberate up front, but what roles is each person going to take after that date? And just like I said, what's the planned course correction? depending on how long that overlap is, that course correction may be we're going to meet weekly to say, where's the role confusion? Because there will be role confusion. Again, set the expectation. There's going to be role confusion. There is going to be decision-making confusion. There's going to be directional confusion. So let's meet weekly to work through it, because neither the former leader or the new leader thinks that role confusion is good for the organization.
Right.
Boy, I love that honesty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I say honesty over transparency, because I just think it's really honest and real. Recently, we had a team meeting, and one of the best answers that our speaker gave was, I don't know, but we're going to work through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it was mic drop moment, because it didn't mean that this is perfect. It is polished. We're giving everyone a clear view of where we are. And one specific question, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like for that particular question. And there was just so much honesty in it. There elevated everything.
Yeah. We're going to, and I love that you brought that up, Christy, because here's what I'll encourage every leader to add to that answer. Because even when you get good at, I don't know, but we're going to look into it and we're going to get an answer for you. If there's 30 people in that room, there are 30 different ideas of what's the right timeline for this person to get back to me. Somebody thinks 2 weeks is fine. Another person, I'll probably hear something in 24 hours. The 24-hour assumption person, if they don't hear something in 48 or 72 hours, what is their assumption? Very rarely in times of uncertainty do we assume, I'm sure they're working really hard on it and haven't forgotten about me at all. We just don't.
Nope. No.
Uncertainty, we assume the negative. And by the way, that's good, right? If you're in your tent at 3 a.m. camping and you hear a rustling in the bushes, those people that think it's a cute little chipmunk and you want to grab your phone to get a photo, there's natural selection has weeded those people out, right? There's none left.
Yes.
So in uncertainty, we assume the negative. So long answer to that short point is every time you say, I don't know, give a definitive answer on when you will get back to people. You may not have the answer, but then if it's a week from now or 2 weeks from now, they'll say, oh, she said she'd get back to me in a week. If you don't know anything in a week, just say, hey, I know I said this, still looking into it, and everybody's fine. It just lowers the temperature of everything.
We're finding that out, Scott, internally here, because we're in the process of outlaying a new vision, a new direction, a new process. And we're finding that the most important thing is get back to your teammates. Don't let them, especially when it's based upon surveys and input and feedback, the worst thing you could do is not do anything. So I like what you're saying from the standpoint of, even if you don't have the answer, come back and say, we're still working on this, but we haven't forgotten about you.
Yeah. And it's still important. It's still important. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we need to start wrapping up, Scott, because you got a hard deadline where you got to jump off this call. But before we do that, can you just give us maybe like 1 or 2 points? When you go through this process, what are 1 or 2 signs or indicators that things are going really well? And what's 1 or 2 signs or indicators that you better recorrect or do something about your direction?
Mm-hmm. Sign that it's going well is that people are coming forward with concerns, and those are being captured somewhere visibly. Because what that means is you're going to take their concerns into account and you're going to work on them. Again, it's the honesty, transparency. We know it's not going to go perfectly smoothly, but we're going to work really hard to make sure that we're good when this transition is over, that you not only like working here, the processes are working, our clients are happy. It's the pre-mortem idea. Let's imagine this doesn't go well. Why did it fail? Why did it fail? And let's prevent those problems. The sign that it's not going to go well is if there are a lot of hallway or cubicle conversations that are happening that never get heard elsewhere, right? No matter whether it's going good or bad, there's going to be the cubicle conversations. But if we don't have a forum to either collect that, hey, I'm going to meet with each of you one-on-one to find out what your concerns are, or we're going to have a town hall, or we're going to have a survey. If those are happening and nothing's being collected, that's a sign that it's going to be more rocky than it needs to be.
Awesome insight and suggestions there, Scott. Like we said, I'm sure we've got some business owners that are listening that are going through the process. So I hope we give some encouragement and insight to what they may be experiencing, as well as those that are in the industry or that are teammates in this kind of situation, to know that it's not always smooth. There are some rocky spots and there are some changes in direction, but part of it, the one thing we can all control is our attitude, right?
That's right.
When you're in a situation like that, it's good to find someone that you can talk to, not in one of those side conversations, but where it goes up the kind of up the flagpole.
Yep.
To say so
exactly.
That absolutely. Well, Sarah.
Yep. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
I am.
Is it time for?
It's time. Would you rather?
We got to get. We're still working on it better.
Yeah,
there's some anticipation that's building here
good.
for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Anticipating this, Scott.
All right, Scott, we got some would you rather questions for you.
Oh my goodness. All right.
A surprise, yes. All right. Would you rather have your life narrated by a motivational speaker or a sports commentator?
Oh, sports commentator for sure.
Nice. All right. Would you rather have a leadership retreat in the mountains or a leadership conference in Vegas?
Oh, the mountains for sure.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
absolutely.
I think I'm allergic to Vegas. I don't know. I think, yeah.
Yes. Would you rather coach someone who never stops talking or only gives one-word answers?
Oh, someone who never stops talking.
Because you get a lot out of it, right?
That's right.
All right. And would you rather survive 1 week without caffeine or a week where you have no control over your calendar?
I'd go caffeineless. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. That's the control of your calendar, right?
Yes.
All right. And this, our last question.
Okay. I was wondering if you were going to get to this.
Yes. Our last question is from a loyal listener. And so he asks this question. Would you rather do a stand-up comedy show or live primitively, or ask your mother to live primitively in Guatemala again? Do you know who that? Do you know who
I know who this is. And this person was at my one attempt at a stand-up comedy show. So I would live in Guatemala for the rest of my life rather than bomb like that ever again.
Okay, so tell us about this comedy show.
I'm curious. I'm curious.
It was at a weak moment in my life, and it was when things were spiraling, and I was like, questioning everything about, and you know what? Maybe I should do this. So I signed up for an open mic night at a comedy club, and not realizing that that's a lot of pressure. And I do believe by the end, the red light was flashing and they all but grabbed the hook to pull me off the stage. That was
nice.
And I think everybody hit the 2-drink minimum that night about 2 minutes into my act.
So I think the key here, Scott, is if you think you're funny because of things that crack yourself up or your wife or spouse up, don't go do a comedy show. No, and if so, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, if so, wear body armor.
So what was the other one about asking your mother to
live primitively in Guatemala?
So that didn't go well either, I guess.
That didn't go well, but yeah, my mother, the first time my mother she came to visit, and the first time we had it was very primitive living, let's just say. So there was a hole outside that you could use for your restroom.
Sure.
But it was a little bit of a walk. And we were told right when we moved in with this family, they were like, you gringos probably shouldn't go out at night. Like they literally gave us a big metal bar to wedge under our door. Now, it ended up being just safe enough. But when my parents came to visit, what we had purchased was just a bucket for your room, but the only bucket we could afford on our very, very, very meager salary was a clear plastic bucket. So I do recall my mother waking up at 2:00 in the morning in our tiny little adobe hut behind the sheet saying, Scotty, I'm not this holy. I'm not this holy. Yeah.
Good times.
Yes.
Good times.
Good times.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for sharing that insight. And you'll have to go to that loyal listener and give him a hard time for
bringing that up.
Bringing that up.
Yeah, that'll be great. Well, it's been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so
Scott,
much.
Thank you,
we know
Scott.
you got to jump off, so feel free to do that at any time. But before you go, if our listeners wanted to get in touch with you in any way, shape, or form, what's the best way to do that?
Showing my Gen X-ness here back to generations. I like email. So
Hey.
Scott with 2 T's at lifework-associates, plural.com. So Scott at lifework-associates.com and you'll be able to get me. But would love to talk to folks. All right. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott.
Yep. Y'all have a good one. Take care.
All right.
Thanks.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. What are you thinking? What's going through your mind?
Oh, I'm spinning.
Christy, well, you were over here making notes.
I am spinning. I mean, there were so many nuggets. It started with the curse of knowledge, how it gets in the way of sharing the most basic details. And I thought, wow, that plays into so many different parts of our lives, not just with generational and succession planning, but how many times do we go to the person who knows the most and we lean in?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a little lazy on our part. We should be trying to get others to grow the knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's very comfortable. So I can see why it would be the curse of knowledge. That's my first big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I only have one big takeaway. So if you have another one, go for it.
Oh, I've got multiple, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah, I want to hear your big takeaway.
My big takeaway, and it goes back to just the way I kind of live my life, unfortunately, in some ways, in that I always think he mentioned the imposter syndrome, and I've struggled with that for decades. But just the concept that if it doesn't go right for me, it's because of something I did, when the truth is it just generally doesn't go right for anybody.
Sure.
And so there are going to be those bumps. There are going to be those rocky moments. And it doesn't mean that you are doing something wrong or you're just not as proficient as you think you are. It's a way of life.
Yeah.
And so I like that. And I think someone that you bring along to partner with you through a process like leadership transition, it's important to have someone in there so that they can step in as that kind of that counselor.
Yes.
Sarah?
Yeah. I just think I've just learned just what we've gone through here, and then just listening to Scott, just don't have that stick your head in the sand mentality that change is inevitable, especially in the workplace. People are going to come and people are going to go. And we just have to be open and honest about it. And everybody is different. Everybody is going to lead differently. And that is a good thing.
I don't remember, Sarah, if it was Jeff or if it was Scott. It might have been Jeff who said, the worst thing you can do is not to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that down. It got a cloud. It got a lot of highlights in my
I think
paper.
it was Scott.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Because I'm not that
I don't
insightful.
know.
Yes, you are.
I think you are. It
But yeah.
sounds like a Jeff comment too. But it's exactly with what you're saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing about this is the teammates that go along. It's not just about the leaders that are transitioning, but the teammates. And that's what I go back to when you talk about our experience, Sarah, because again, we've been in the thick of it now for a couple years,
Mm-hmm.
but with our last transition, it really became fully second generational. So everyone's in a different spot, like you said, but everyone has a different experience level. So there are those of us that have been here for 15 to 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they know the process, they understand the toil and the effort that's gone into it. So you're like, well, just trust us. We've seen this happen. And then you have individuals and teammates that have been here less than 5 years, and they may not even know or have met those founders. And so there's that process of, well, how do you integrate the history with the new? But you got to treat everybody differently.
Yeah,
you do.
Process.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff, you said something about what I'll say, still honoring the legacy, the beauty of what makes us who we are.
Mm-hmm.
It still exists. It doesn't have to all go away, but just really honoring the legacy of making each place that special place, that X factor.
And one of the coolest things about our situation, just to brag on us a little bit, and we've talked about this with our teammates as recently as a week ago, is that our core values are what we refer to as our GREAT acronym: goal-oriented, results-driven, encourager of others, accountable with integrity, and thoughtful, the whole person. Those are probably the most important, best, most awesomest gift that our founders of this firm have given us.
Yes,
It,
for
it,
sure.
it came early in the process, within the first 5 to 7 years.
Mhm.
And we keep going back to it. and it never changes.
Right.
Not because we're being lazy, but it's like, that's who we are.
Right.
And so that's one way to honor those types of relationships and situations. But I just find in our situation, we haven't changed that core value for years. We still haven't.
Yep.
So, anyway. Well, I hope our listeners enjoyed the topic for today. And if you didn't, you can email us at podcast@cckcpa.com. If you love the topic and would love to share some suggestions for other topics or other speakers, other guests, please email us podcast@cckcpa.com. We would love to hear from you. Be sure to like and comment and share this podcast with just one friend. If we,
and then they share with one friend, and then
that could
they share.
triple or quadruple your listenership.
Yeah.
And it's not about the numbers. It's about, we believe there's good content and timely content. We believe that when we put these things out there, there's someone out there specific that needs to hear what we're spitting out. Right, Sarah?
Yep.
KP, it's good to have you back again, and we missed you. So we're glad you're back again. As always, we want to thank CCK for the opportunity to do something different on a different platform, a different medium. And so thank you to CCK Strategies. KP, as always, we missed you, and thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow. To Robert Mays for his intro and outro musica, and Clarence Fisher with Tulsa Internet Marketing Services. Thank you to him also. And finally, our two administrative superstar teammates, Emily Johansson and Dasha Janko Ferguson. Thank you so much for helping us get across the goal line every week. Again, we are so happy you joined us this week, and we hope that you join us next time as these two CPAs get together to have a chat, and you get to find out who's on the mic.
The information provided on this podcast is for general informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute accounting, tax, legal, or financial advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, laws and regulations change and individual circumstances vary. Always consult with a qualified CPA or professional advisor before making any financial or business decisions. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any organizations they are affiliated with. Listening to this podcast does not create a client-accountant relationship. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge and agree to those terms.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Two CPAs in the Mic. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Have questions or ideas for a topic? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@cckcpa.com.